Okay, welcome everyone. I'll just bring up Tangent and we'll get rocking and rolling. How are you, buddy?
Yo, very well. How about you?
Yeah, going well. Right, I'm going to forgive my stupidness with live streams. This is the first live stream I've been actually in control of out of all these years.
Oh, whoa. So it's a first.
Yeah, the first one I've actually been behind the control panel with. And normally my channel is all pre-records. So this is a bit of a first on my actual channel. Yeah, the reason why this has come about, though, is we were just having a bit of a chat in one of our private chats, and the question I was asking was, what the hell is going on with Tang Gang? Can you give me the 5-minute drill on everything Tang Gang so I get up to speed? And eventually it came into, well, let's just jump on a live stream because there's probably a lot of people that have got the same questions. So let me just ask all the dumb questions. Hopefully you can give intelligent answers and we'll see where we end up.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think that's a great idea that we just do it live and then everyone can hear the discussion. And so I guess I'll just start by saying that the very brief description is that the Tang Gang describes themselves as a multi-billion-dollar decentralized autonomous marketing agency. That's the title, and it has a simple motto and a simple patronage model, and that is, the motto is, having fun is more fun than not having fun. I think Cookies came up with that. And it's a good one. And the patronage model is, in fact, we can get into the patronage model a bit later on. It's might be take a little bit more time. But the idea is that effectively that there's a circular economy and that it's all about adding value, and that so the focus is on adding value where possible and making sure that there's sort of these mutually, so that value add rather than value extract, because you'll find that in crypto there's a heap of attempted value extraction where people's MO is value extraction. So this is trying to sort of flip that on its head.
Yep. So is there any sort of rules or guidelines that you've all sort of come up with the way you approach things? Because I've noticed a bit of that chat where there seems to be a way Tang Gang likes to do things.
So yeah, the patronage model would fall under that category, and again, that's more of a recommendation or a suggestion or a guideline rather than, because obviously no one can force anyone to do anything, right? It's completely there's no contracts, there's no strict rules. Obviously we make sure that the admins in the chat make sure that people aren't just in there like scamming or shilling other projects and that sort of thing. But as far as one example would be that when artists do an NFT project, the idea is that out of the money that they make out of selling their NFTs, some portion of that should be reinvested somehow. That value should be brought back to the Grove. And how they do that is up to them. Obviously, we can't police whether or not they even do it at all. But the idea is that, they receive value, and then it's nice they might go and sweep the floor of a different collection, or they might buy some of the Tang Gang coins, or they might pay a dev to build something like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that was the first question I had was, okay, in a nutshell, what is Tang Gang? And I think you've done a really good job of explaining that. Would I be right in saying that the focal point is the Hex orange address token? Is that where you try and drive value back to, or?
It's the main coin, and it's the first coin of the Tang Gang, and so it is the flagship coin of the gang.
Yeah.
And I guess it's important for me to mention that some people think or assume that the Tang Gang is just meme coins or just meme coins and NFT projects, but it has become so much more than that. And those, but yeah, I guess you could say that if an artist was trying to just kind of stick to the most simple version of the patronage model, they would probably just buy HOA with the percentage of their profit that they want to allocate towards supporting the growth. So yeah, that is, the value does sort of accrue back to the HOA coin as a default.
Yeah. And I guess as we move forward, this is what I'm noticing more and more on Pulsechain. And that's why I wanted to obviously have a chat about Tang today, but I think the subcultures that are forming on the chain are actually quite interesting. So I might try and get a few more of those subcultures in. And
yeah, I saw that you'd named the show Pulsechain Subcultures. I really like that idea. That's very cool.
So because what I'm noticing is a coin, and typically it's started off as a meme coin, gets launched, and it gets a group of people rally around it, and that's great. And it starts off as purely a meme coin, but then everyone starts adding more value, and we're seeing it. You've got the PDI guys. What else have we got? I'll have to come up with a few of the others, but there's definitely a few of these narratives floating around where, that's right, the comm guys around the secret weapon. So there's all these little subcultures forming, and I think the thing we've got to realize is blockchain is open, it's permissionless. You can't control who comes here and builds what or what communities come across. It is what it is. So love it or hate it, whatever your stance is, it's not going to change, because that is the beauty of these systems, is they are free and open. So I think you've just got to embrace the cultures. Obviously, socially things will get policed anyway. If something seems nefarious and it is proven to be nefarious, then the various communities or the people within those communities will highlight it. So I think we've just got to embrace this. This is the new ecosystem we're in, and I reckon it's great. It's fantastic to see all these things come together.
Yeah, trying to police the behaviors and actions of others is insanity by definition. And so obviously, we have stopped listening to anyone who kind of objects to what people are doing with what they support, what they talk about, what they invest in. And it's good to see. I'm firmly in the camp that you can't have a successful pulse chain if it's a ghost chain. You need things that are on the chain, and you need communities. And the Tang gang in particular has had so many external compliments about what they have done for Pulsechain in terms of adoption, vibrancy, developing protocols, all sorts of things. So it's an interesting one.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things apart from all the individual coins and tokens and NFTs, which I do want to get into, because I think there's some really cool tech stuff happening and value creation happening on that front. What I seem to be noticing from afar is that you're bringing in talent from other chains and other spaces. So, I mean, RG's just done a stream with, apparently it's a new NFT developer that's just come across. Have I got that right?
Yeah. So, and that's why we started a little bit late, because that's such an impactful new component of the Tang gang that almost certainly the entire Tang gang would have been watching that instead of this. And so that team is a team of Chia developers that have effectively broken through a sticking point that allows them to create these NFTs where there's actually functionality within the NFT that allows you to do theoretically almost anything. So we would only be limited by, or no limits. It would be effectively anything your phone can do, anything you can do on the internet, and anything you can do in Web3 could theoretically be done within this NFT, all pseudo-anonymously. So it would be like having a phone within your phone that is fully encrypted and can operate and do everything without anyone ever knowing that it's you, just be an ID. And it's cross-chain, it's networkless theoretically. So at the moment it's running on IPFS, And obviously, actually, I shouldn't go into this into too much detail because obviously, if people want to know more about it, that stream with RG3 is going to be much better. You're hearing it directly from the dev rather than from me. But the point is that thing is in its infancy and it's already breaking people's minds. People are blown away by what it's capable of, and it's literally only got one feature at the moment, is that you can chat. You know, sometimes I say that Web3 or like blockchain tech is almost like you go back in time to the very, very, very start of not even the internet, the very start of just like computer technology at all, in terms of the graphics and things like that. And it's like we're starting again, but on blockchain. Notice how like the
doing it how it should have been done,
pixelated, and then now everyone's like, oh my god, what, you can chat to each other? If you said that to someone, it'd be like, dude, we've had that on the internet for decades. What are you talking about? But it's because, do you get what I'm saying? So it's like a rebirth. So you can almost see the future of what's going to be impactful and what is going to be developed by just going back and looking at what happened through that period of the early development of computer technology and the internet. So
it's basically unwinding a lot of the wrongs that have happened because of the centralized model that we, in reality, there was no other way to do it at the time, and everything just steamed ahead, and companies got bigger than probably what they should have and are housing more data that they don't own. Well, they own it, but should they own it? So they're housing a lot more data than what is probably feasible given the amount of power that gives them, because that's the age we're in at the moment. It's the information age and the data age, and that has real currency. So they're probably misusing a lot of that power, and now we've got to unwind all of that and start to redo everything in a permissionless way.
Yeah, at the start of the internet, the driving force, the innovation, the purpose was to transmit information between humans. And that was where all the focus and awe was. And so they didn't really plan and think about privacy and self-sovereignty and data ownership and those sorts of things. And so you're absolutely right. It's like we're going back and doing it all again, but with those very critical elements included into the development.
It's pretty much it's guardrails, and it's to stop one actor coming in and monopolizing everyone's data, and actually, and I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole because we could have a whole conversation on this, but it just brings in a whole level of control which is probably not justified by any one corporation or government for that point of matter. So we've got a bit of work to do, and it feels very clunky at the moment, but I actually do like where it's going, and that's the world I want to live in, is a world where you don't need people's permission to be able to engage with the rest of the globe financially or from an information point of view. So
absolutely.
All right. So
the Tang Gang really does embody those cypherpunk ideals. So you know how you were saying to do with rules. I mean, a lot of this stuff is self-enforced. We find there's a lot of self-filtration and self-enforcement. It's the way I describe it, and not everyone believes in this kind of stuff, but when you're operating at a high vibrational frequency, you don't actually need to tell people that you don't like to stay away from you. They'll actually stay away from you because they can't handle being around someone that's just, vibing so high. So the Tang Gang, in the groups, everyone's having a lot of fun. And so if someone comes in who doesn't like having fun, they just end up leaving. And we've had that. We've absolutely had that happen. So the things that have created such great success, and this is something that Danny talks about a lot, is having the focus almost completely not on price really, really helps. Because what you'll find is that in cryptocurrency, a lot of focus gets put on price. And when that is the focus of a particular community, as soon as the price stops going up, like it doesn't even need to crash, it can just stop going up, everyone loses interest and wants to go somewhere else. So you need something more than just the price going up to keep a community together. Another Cookies quote that he talks about is effectively, you need a reason that is more engaging for someone to not sell their tokens than the reason that they would sell the tokens and get the money. So price going up falls into that category. So when the price is going up, that's a reason why someone would rather have the tokens than taking the dollar value immediately out, because they think they can get more dollars later. But if you, obviously that's, like we've just said, that's a dangerous one to rely on solely. In the Tang gang, obviously there's heaps of different reasons. We've got this currency that has kind of become the currency for currency, right? Like the currency of the Tang gang, the one that kind of gets used and spent and that sort of thing, is this one called OG. So it started off as a yield token. So an inflationary yield token from a yield farm protocol called the Orange Grove that started quite early in the Tang gang history. And so lots of people were participating in that, which meant it was a currency that lots of people in the Tang gang had. So it was like fairly well distributed throughout the gang if they had participated in those yield farms. And
so it's the equivalent of ink.
Exactly. Yes. The equivalent of ink for that particular yield farm. And then it started getting used by artists who were launching NFT projects to be the currency that was used for the mints. So you would pay in that currency. And the idea there was more than just, oh, hey, let's pick this currency. It was like people sort of perceive that they got this for free. Now, that's not strictly true because it's opportunity cost, right? You could sell it for dollars. So it's not worthless. But psychologically, people think, well, I got this just by participating in this protocol. I didn't actually have to go in my pocket and pay for this coin. So people are more likely to do frivolous shit like buying NFTs on the internet, right? That was kind of part of the original idea. And then effectively, we ended up basically building out this circular economy because Pulse Market turned on OG as a currency that you could use to list, so buy and sell NFTs on that NFT marketplace. And the artists were using it as a mint currency. That marketplace had it, and then there were a few other things where people basically just started using it as an actual. So we built out this kind of circular economy using that currency, which is really good.
Yep. So let's try and piece this together. So originally HOA.
Yes.
Then you said must have been some sort of was it a DEX or what? Where was the yield coming from for the?
Oh, so that yield farm protocol doesn't actually have. It's not a DEX. It's just yield farm only. So I probably jumped ahead a bit too much there. There are these core coins in the Tang gang, which are the ones that were deployed by members of the Tang gang under the guidance and scrutiny of the entire Tang gang, and also like followed specific procedures for launch, like 100% of the coins into or nearly 100% of the coins into an LP, and then the LP burnt and that sort of thing. So effectively, coins that the Tang gang could hand on heart say, yes, we saw the launch of these coins. We know who deployed the contracts, blah, blah, blah. And that's why they're considered to be like the most legit, or the ones that they can. And so those coins are HOA, obviously, NBC, Furu, Yacht, and is there one? There might be one other one. I think that might be it. It might just be those four. And then there are other projects that are variously affiliated with the Tang gang. And really any project that has legs in. Sorry,
because I don't want to. I want to try and see if we can follow a rail of.
Sure. Stop me whenever you want.
So we had those four core coins, and then a staking protocol was created for the OG. How was that getting minted?
With those yield farms, they basically. Their idea was effectively to try and incentivize behavior that benefits the Tang gang. So there were a lot of pools and farms that did have those sort of Tang gang coins and Tang affiliated coins in there, but there were a lot of RH coins in there as well to try and sort of appeal to the broader RH, Pulsechain, and Hex community as well. So there was lots of like Hex pools and ink.
And sorry, and
there was OG ink and that sort of thing.
Yep. So my brain just flicked off for a second there. So what was that protocol called?
Oh, so that's called the Orange Grove, but it's because it's by the Pussycat team. It's the website at the moment is 9mm.pussycat.life, and the reason for that 9mm prefix is because all the LPs have been moved to being 9mm LPs rather than PulseX LPs.
Cool. Okay, so this is the track I want to go down, because it seems like there's been an evolution, and I get a little bit lost when you're talking about the 9mm guys, because they're obviously doing good work as well.
Yeah. So that's the Dex. That's kind of like the Tang Dex.
Yeah. So that's sort of where we've evolved from. So is Pussycat still a thing? Or?
Yeah. Their yield farms incentivize those Dex LPs. Absolutely.
You can understand why everyone's got a lot to catch up on with.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, sorry, we should have stepped through this a bit more carefully. So
there's a lot of history there. So
yeah. Okay,
so Pussycat, that's still alive and ticking, and what is that in of itself?
So they've got a meme coin as well. Their dev team has got a meme coin, but other than it being listed on their yield farm, it's not specifically directly related in terms of their meme coin and their yield farm protocol. You could almost see them as being separate. And so the yield farm actually got created before 9mm had launched, and it was using PulseX pools, LPs, sorry. And in fact, they were the very first yield farm to ever use PulseX V2 pools so that you could get the yield and the fees at the same time. Every other yield farm was either using PulseX V1 or their own Dex pools or LPs or whatever. So that was the first. And that was sort of out of their frustration that no one was doing the right thing, because you're meant to get fees and yield. The yield is not supposed to be instead of the fees. So that was pretty cool. And then 9mm launched a V2 protocol first, and then now they've actually launched the V3 as well, which is blowing up, by the way. There's over 2 million.
Yep. So they've forked Uniswap V2, own front end, own liquidity pools.
Yep.
And more recently, now gone to V3.
Yeah, and there's over $2 million TVL on the 9mm protocol if you add up V2 and V3. And more impressive than that is once Dex Screener started listing the V3 liquidity pools properly, which happened, I think, yesterday, very recently. If you go and look on Dex Screener, you know how it ranks all the chains by volume? It does the same things with the dexes across the top. So when you click on Pulsechain, those dexes are in the order of what dex does the most volume. And 9mm immediately went to slot number 2, direct, like behind PulseX. And really, the only reason why PulseX has higher volume and higher liquidity is because of Richard's provenance. So 9mm is actually technically superior by having that V3, the ability to do those Uniswap V3 LPs. So I think we're going to see the TVL on that protocol climb drastically. And it's one of the things that the Tang Gang's very proud of, because they helped indirectly, still in a decentralized way, the Tang Gang helped fund the dev cost of the entire suite of 9mm protocols. Now they've got an NFT marketplace. They're going to be also doing a GMX fork. And so all of that development was funded by them selling NFTs.
So this will be under the 9mm banner? Is that
all under that 9mm banner. Yep.
Okay.
And the marketplace is actually very impressive because it's got the ability to bid like across collections, and it's also got the ability to it's just got a very user-friendly interface where you can just see all your NFTs listed out, and it shows you what the floor price is and what the bid is, so that you can decide what you want to list your NFT for.
Okay, so 9mm originally launched, I think it was as a block explorer. Have I got that right?
Oh, true as well. Yeah, completely forgot about that. They started off doing a scanner to try and give a better experience than the default scanner, which they did a good job at the time of producing something that was more user friendly than the official scanner, but it wasn't fully synced. And I actually haven't gone back to use it specifically recently. I barely use block scanners at the moment.
Yeah,
but yeah, they've got that scanner as well.
Yeah, so start off as the block explorer, has morphed into a V2 DEX, now V3, and you're saying NFT platform, and was there one other thing as well?
They're doing a GMX fork.
That's right, the GMX fork. Yeah, so that's obviously work in progress.
And there's one other thing that's not public yet. So
okay. Yeah. So you'll tell us that at the end of the stream.
Yeah. No, I can't. That info already leaked, and Deva, the lead dev, came into one of the groups and was like, "Who leaked it?" And I was like, "It wasn't me."
Okay, so now that we understand there's been a bit of a chain, and before we sort of branch off into the more current stuff, is there any sort of tokenomics or incentive that is there's fees coming from 9mm and flowing into a particular token which comes back? Is there anything that people need to be aware of in that regard?
So if you own those Pulse OG NFTs, you actually will get revenue share from all of the 9mm protocols, and they're actually going to be launching, I think, all of their protocols cross-chain. So all of their stuff will end up being on Ethereum and other EVM chains, but all of the profit share only comes back to those NFTs that are on Pulsechain.
So you've just introduced something else. So the Pulse OG NFTs.
Yeah, so Pulse OG. Those were the NFTs that they effectively used to fund the development cost.
Right. Okay. So they went up for a mint. Everyone paid a certain amount of whatever. Whether it was
I think they were $1 million. I think they were $1 million PLS each, and there was 5,555 of them, something like that.
Okay.
And anyway, basically, whoever holds them at the time when a distribution happens, which will be once a month, every month for 19 months, or it might be 20 months. It's whoever holds the NFT will get the rev share.
Okay, so that's it. I knew there was some sort of interconnect where you had all this stuff going on. So you've got you hold one of the Pulse OG NFTs, you effectively the people that minted those originally helped fund the dev team to do all the 9mm stuff, and in return, if you currently hold one, whether you've brought it on a secondary market or minted, you get returns just from the 9mm protocols.
Yes, from all the 9mm protocols, And I'm pretty sure that's auto. Like, I'm pretty sure that's automatic. It's not. So it's not like, you know how we were talking about the patronage model and how, people can either do it or not do it. It's not enforced. I think this one is enforced by code. But maybe don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure it is though.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing I have noticed, and full disclosure, I've got a little bit of HOA. I have noticed in my wallet there seems to be a drip feed of something coming through, and I don't know whether that's a scam token. I haven't bothered to look.
So thanks for reminding me about that. Actually, I would have forgotten to mention that the amount of free airdrops that other people have done, either with tokens, NFTs, and things like that, to holders of HOA has been absolutely bonkers. A couple of recent ones were hundreds to low thousands of dollars airdrops to wallet holders, and some of them you needed to hold over a certain amount. So some of them you had to hold like 69,420, because the Tang gang's quite obsessed with mimetic numbers. So 420, 69, like 333, 369, things like that, right? Especially ones that relate to hex, 55555, whatever.
Yep.
So, so some people, they'll airdrop and there'll be some specific cutoff. where it'll be like, if you hold this much HOA or more, and obviously that's up to the person that's airdropping, that number can change. And so I'm not sure if what you've received is either an airdrop for holding HOA, or it could be maybe someone airdropped you a token for holding HOA that also has reflections inbuilt that gives you more HOA. So, because I think there was one like that where, because is the coin that you're getting dripped in, are you seeing the drip in in actual HOA, or is it?
Yeah, and that's why I thought, maybe I wasn't sure if it was a scam token or not, and I haven't bothered to even look.
No, I think that's real HOA. So you would have got airdropped the coin that has the reflection, and because you didn't touch that and left it in your wallet, then it's drip feeding you the HOA whenever there's like buys, sells, transfers, however that structure is set up.
Yeah. Okay. So it's, in that instance, you've got a reflection token that is being purchased. There's obviously a tax on that. That tax is being used to buy HOA off market or something, or is that?
Yeah. I don't quote me on this, but I think the coin was called Pulp. Was the one that got airdropped and then has a reflection in it. I'll have to go and check that. But that's exactly how it works. It's effectively every buy and sell that other people are then doing on the open market, a percentage of that algorithmically will go buy HOA and send it to everyone. And I think they've got some way of making sure that it doesn't end up being too gas intensive. Like, it might wait for a certain amount to be built up before it distributes to something. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah. I don't spend a lot of time effing with tax tokens. They're not my favorite stuff.
And I'm the same. I tend to steer clear from tax tokens and also protocols that mimic tax tokens.
I just find it annoying if I want to go and sell it or whatever, and it's not working, and then you're like, oh, now I need to change the slippage limit, and then it won't work. You've got to go and try on a different DEX. I find that for anyone who is having trouble selling tax tokens, I actually find that going to PulseX and switching off all the like fancy stuff, like you switch off auto routing and whatever, and then PulseX is your best shot points like that. It's So,
you've got to understand the rules behind every single thing you hold, which, hey, let's face it, you should do anyway. If you're going to go buy this stuff, you should understand how it all works. All right, so we're starting to peel back some of the layers. See what I've done there? With the
that one went over my head.
Is there an ecosystem map that you guys have got? I mean,
no,
it's good to have
no leaders, no authorities, no roadmaps, no
not roadmaps,
no heroes.
Yeah, but is there an explainer, like this is how this fits together, or?
The closest thing that we have to that is there's a website which is hexoacoin.com that has links to everything that is Tang related. So pretty much if any project or protocol or NFT or anything leaned into the Tang or was launched with the assistance of the Tang, there should be a link on that website.
On the HOA website?
Yeah, it's hexoacoin.com.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think we're slowly starting to peel it all back.
Yeah. Thanks for keeping it on the rails, like you said, because I think it's important to step through it rather than me just running off and talking about all the crazy stuff that we've achieved, because that list is long.
So would I be correct in saying that's pretty much a history lesson? Although that history is, what are we, a year old on Pulsechain? Not even yet.
Less.
So 9 months.
Less.
Yeah. So a lot's happened in that 9 months, and so has that brought us up to date of where we currently stand, you think, or have we missed anything?
I think it would be impossible within this stream to do either the full history or the upcoming stuff. But I think that's a lot of the most critical stuff. That I think that's sort of the most.
Yeah, I'm just going through we're just having a quick look through the chat and seeing, because there was a few comments.
Yeah, sure.
Enigma Diamond Mines.
Yeah. So, yeah. There's a team called Rentomania created a 3D Monopoly game that you can play online and you can bet the other person using Pulse. And then they also developed another yield farm that pays you Enigma diamonds, which is named after the one that Richard has.
Mm-hmm. And so this is an NFT or a token?
So that's a token. The Enigma diamonds it's a token. And so those guys leaned in, and the Pussycat Yield Farm, or the Orange Grove, and the Enigma Diamond Mines did effectively a collab that was also another Web3 first, where they basically paired both of their yield tokens and incentivized it on both yield farms, so that you could, so that with that same LP, so effectively the Enigma Diamonds paired with OG, you could put that LP in either of the two or split it up and do both or whatever. And then you're earning yield of both of those tokens that can go back into that LP. And then, so effectively like a recompounding, a compoundable yield strategy with two tokens that, so typically yield tokens go down, they bleed out because everyone they get the yield and they sell it. But the attitude and the culture within the Tang gang is so different that these yield tokens go up. So
so I've got a theory on most protocols, and it's that there needs to be a sync. So you can create as many bells and whistles as you like in the tokenomics, and generally what happens is someone creates a staking protocol, you put something in, spit something out, and they go, okay, well, how do we stop people selling that down? Well, let's make them put it into this thing, and that spits out something else. But inevitably, there's a sink. There's an end of the
Absolutely.
Where it all, the value goes, and if people want to cash in that yield,
that's
they're going to
typically the path to death of a typical yield protocol. Once they run out of the ability to sync,
and that's
if the only way that they can keep their APRs high is to just keep increasing the emissions, then it just gets worse and worse and worse, and they just inflate it to death. So if you look at the chart of almost every yield token that's ever existed, they're effectively down forever coins. But if you look at, and look, we don't have a huge amount of history, but what the Tang gang has basically done is given a use case to these tokens, a circular economy, or also created a culture of like reinvesting these tokens back in to make even more yield, which I know that in itself is not necessarily sustainable. People get more and more. Eventually, it needs to go somewhere.
That's right. That's a market moving together until they're not moving together. Yeah.
But there are two things. There are two things in the from the NFT, the artistic side, and that sort of thing, that helps to give these tokens a reason for people to hold on to them. So sometimes they are used as the requirement for a whitelist. So i.e. you have to hold X number of this token to be able to be on the whitelist to get this free NFT or to get this paid NFT or whatever. And the other one is being used as the actual currency to buy the NFT. So it could be one of those two things or both that then make people say, well, actually, I should probably hold on to some of this. Otherwise, I'm going to have to market buy it on the day of the snapshot. And that's when everyone's trying to buy it and the price is going up. So there's those two incentives for people to actually hold some of it at least.
All right. So let's try and unpack that a little bit. So you've earned OG, and you said there was one other one that you were earning. Enigma, that's right.
Yep.
And someone launches an NFT collection, and let's just say it's the new one, the walkie-talkie one or whatever.
Yep. Oh yeah. So Tang Talk.
Okay. And I don't know if I'm probably jumping too far ahead at the moment on that, but let's just say
you've got these. It's a good example because I think they followed the recommended patronage model.
Yeah. So you've got these two tokens that you're saying we can use them as the currency, which effectively stops sell pressure on HOA, I would imagine. But
yep.
But allows you to then so you go off and you buy an NFT, and arguably there could be value in that. So value from an artistic point of view. So someone's creative energy's gone into creating a picture that you may like. Yep. And that's like buying a picture for your wall at home. Like you've seen value in that artwork. So therefore, okay, that's fair enough. You've exchanged your currency for that piece of artwork. Is there more to the NFTs than the artwork?
Often there is. Yeah, absolutely. Often there is. So the idea there, as the example would be, they said you need to be holding 369 Enigma to be whitelisted to even participate in the mint, and the price is going to be 1,000 OG. Would be the way that they would manage that. And sometimes we've had dual token mints where you can mint with say Ink or OG or PLS or OG, things like that. And then to answer your question, increasingly many of the NFTs actually have utility. Now, for some of them, the utilities is simply that, wow, there's so many examples of this in the Tang gang. So I'll try and rush through a few of them. So Mana did these amazing VR, AR created pulse cats. So these different 3D artwork things that you can view in
Mana's
VR.
An artist, I'm assuming.
Mana's an artist, yep. And then what she did is on Dark Block, you can actually make it so that you have effectively token gated ability to download files. So if you have that NFT, you can go and download the files that allow you to to construct that 3D environment for your NFT. So you can go into a metaverse or whatever and view the NFT. And the paint that she uses is audio reactive, which means it pulses when there's music and that sort of thing. So it's pretty crazy. Sometimes with NFTs like that, aside from how cool that is, if that's her flagship NFT project, where that's sort of her, most expensive, most effort art, sometimes that having that NFT will actually be, so as a specific example, people who held that NFT got a free mint of another collection she brought out, which was the Cookies and Cream, AI generative, girls that have cookies. It's like a Cookies and Cream series of art, and everyone else had to pay. So it was a free mint, but only if you held that one. So sometimes those NFTs can be used for token gating, as whitelisting, but that's not all. There's also NFTs that actually have other examples are Pulse OGs and Crypto Bums, and there are a few others as well that I forget, have revenue share, which is another sort of utility. I think Bury the One Piece does that as well. And there's a couple of others. Apologies to the projects that do that I'm forgetting to mention. And then there are other ones obviously the Tang Talk Wireless, where the utility is that it's actually got functionality that you can actually do stuff, at the moment, chat to other people within the Tang gang or other people who hold that NFT. And then people are constantly innovating. There are people within the Tang gang that are saying, I've had this idea, I want to do this. Let's try and work out how to do it. Let's find the devs to be able to do it. People are working on trying to be able to stake NFTs. We were just talking a lot about yield farms like the Pussycat farms and the diamond mines. People are working on an ability to do something like that, but where you actually, what you're depositing into the yield farm is actually NFTs. And then you get paid in some token or whatever. And so, there's an absolute, there's other people say, if you hold my NFT, then all my other NFTs that I ever make after that are free. So all the other collections are just free collections that get airdropped to the paid mint. And
I think that's probably one of the biggest things I see for creatives is up until now, there hasn't been a really great way for them to monetize a lot of their work. And especially in the digital world, because it was always right click and save it, and you've got a copy of that digital file. So I think that's probably one of the big things I see is from in terms of that sink and flowing down to the end of a sink, and okay, what do you get at the end of it? And if you are, so if you're paying for someone's time where they're creating something creative that you wouldn't ever do yourself, and you get enjoyment out of that. To me, that's a fair transaction. Like
we have moved so far past the accusation of, I will just right-click save the image, because are you going to right-click save all the profit share that I get from holding this NFT? Are you going to right-click save the ability for me to go into this token-gated chat or this token-gated area of this metaverse? Are you going to right-click save all, like, the airdrops of tokens that I'm going to get for? In fact, Cookie's just hinted recently that he was going to cross-reference who holds one or more of the NFTs that he released, which are this very cool artwork series of artwork called The Casino, and cross-reference that with people who have participated in a specific pool on the Pussycat Farms, which was the Pepe pool, just because that one had like a very high deposit and bonus multiplier. Effectively cross-reference those addresses and maybe, no expectations, airdrop some even more rare NFTs to those addresses. So it's like your imagination is the limit with what can be done.
Yeah, I think that we haven't quite. This is probably the next frontier in the NFT side of things, is the real world asset side of things, and that's a really hard nut to crack. Like digitally, it's easy. You can create a website that is token gated, and if you've got that token, you get access to information that you would normally pay for, whether it's a course or whatever. So it's harder than it sounds, but it is possible. There's what's the crew that do that? Unlock. So the Unlock guys.
Do they do it on Pulsechain though? Because Bullish had to pay a dev to do token unlocks for Pulsechain, because it was like ETH only. So
so I actually reached out. I actually reached out to the Unlock guys and actually put a pull request in their repo to get that sorted. But there was we're still missing a few things on Pulsechain that made it hard. There was a few things that they needed, they didn't have access to. One of them, I think, was Gnosis. That was a bit of an issue for them.
Oh, yeah.
So there was a few things that were blockers for them. But happy to give you that information, and if someone can do something good with what I started, then have at it.
Yeah,
that is very useful.
Dr. Robotnik successfully created gated Telegram and gated Discord for holders of HOA. So if you hold HOA, you can go and get access to these gated chat groups. There's nothing secretive that goes on in there. It was just like a cool idea.
It's just novel. It's a novel
to display the tech and that sort of thing. And so another one that I wanted to mention, actually, that's a cool was a first in my opinion, was Fully Croissant did the Robo Rhapsody NFTs, which are actually going to be these robots that exist in the metaverse, and has had cool, like, there's fights and these ones where they do like the bridge crossing, a bit like what they do in on Squid Games and that sort of thing. And so we've got this merge happening where we've got metaverse builders, we've got like full stack devs, there's Unity developers, there's AI experts. And so this is something I haven't said yet, which is quite important, is that the spectrum of talent, like the amount of different experts that are within the Tang gang, while almost everyone in there also being reasonably knowledgeable in crypto, is incredibly rare. It's incredibly rare that you have that many people who are all there unpaid, just for the passion, literally doing what they love and not feeling the pressure that they have to have something done by a deadline. Everyone is just there working on it because it's what they want to do. And if they find someone that they can collaborate with and it works, it's mutually beneficial, then they do it. Otherwise, people just work on their own shit solo. And as these things come together, it works super well. Like, it works really, really well that there's this, if we end up with these assets that are, we can really push the boundaries on each of these things, because people say, hey, can we put this Monopoly game into the metaverse? And then we've got all the people there who can actually answer those questions and try to make it happen.
So, and this is the thing I thought was pretty nice, is where have those people come from? Because I don't know whether they're all originally in the Pulsechain community and Sacrifice. Like, where are you?
The only thing I've been saying to people is talent attracts talent. So it started off with enough really talented, really well-respected mofos that other people saw that group or saw people that they liked within the group and said, I want to be a part of that. And then obviously as that's expanded, that effect gets greater and greater and greater. So now we've got like ETH whales and ETH bros and Chia devs and ETH devs. There are ETH devs that are incredibly well respected that are in the process of coming over. Some are known and some are still not known. And by the way, I get very limited information that is before everyone else, and it's usually just by accident. But I have heard some names that are, when people hear that those devs are going to be coming from Ethereum, not fully, like some of them are not like, oh, I'm ditching Ethereum and coming just solely working on Pulsechain. But the fact that they're willing to also build on Pulsechain is massive. Yeah. So yeah, I think, and word of mouth. Word of mouth. But the example, sorry, Jexo, I'll just say this example. These Tang Talk wireless guys, Drac, was in a Twitter space with another project that's really well known on ETH. I think it was like something monkeys. It was like monkeys something or something monkeys. I forget what it was because I wasn't aware of them, but it's a big deal. They were talking about their experience and saying this Tangang thing, they helped us raise like 50 grand or something to cover dev costs, didn't ask for anything. So there was no payment, there was no demands. The only sort of like request is that the team lean in and sort of, if they're asked about it, that they shout out the Tang gang. That's it. It's just it's only and that they consider themselves part of the Tang gang.
Yeah.
So they were blown away on like a too good to be true level, and then telling all of their ETH bro mates that, hey, look over here, there's this thing that's nearly a Web3 miracle. And it doesn't take long. If they're hearing it from someone that they respect, they're just like, well, that's a no-brainer. We'll get involved in that as well.
Yeah, and I think I've said this a number of times. One of the issues with bringing over well-respected devs from the ETH community is they don't want to be shunned by their cohort that would look across and go, what are you doing over there on that piece of shit? So there's still a stigma, and I think a lot of them will come over in stealth, and then as it becomes okay to talk about Pulsechain more, then people will pipe up and say, oh yeah, we've been over here for a little while now. And I think that's going to take a little while. Like
first through the door gets shot? Maybe that's not the right saying, but I have heard so many ETH devs now say, and even Dr. Robotnik said this, where he said publicly in a Twitter space, he said, the only reason I came over to Pulsechain at all was because of the Tang gang. And so if enough people hear that, they're going to come and it's almost like a safe space because the Tang gang is multi-chain. There's Chia devs in there, and there are Richard Hart fanboys in there, and girls, but it's not. There's also people that don't like Richard, and so it's like people know that they can join the Tang gang and operate and build things on Pulsechain without the immediate assumption that they are RH maxis. And so it's almost like this weird, it's like this weird space that allows people to build on Pulsechain while also having that defense of saying, no, I'm not like, you can't really accuse me of, you know what I mean? It just gives them that, it just gives them that plausible deniability to say, no, that's not, the Tang gang is not an RH maxi group.
Yeah. So I'll go back to that unlock group that I was dealing with. So when I was filling out all the the changes that had to go in the repo, you had to comment in the code. You put in all the different chains, and some chains were, I can't remember the term they used, paraphrasing here, or something like promoted or something like that. So if you put that tag next to your chain, it would show in their drop down of all the chains they support. And whilst they were happy to have Pulsechain on there, like you made a snide comment like, "Oh yeah, we won't promote that one though." So they want to see their they want to see their protocols grow and spread across the chains, but there's that stigma thing, and they go, "Okay, yeah, we'll come across and we'll work with you." But
so they were willing to support it on a technical level, but not on a social level.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
I mean, that's okay. It's better than nothing. Yeah. Like it's better than, and I get it. Like people want to be cautious with, and look, there are a lot of bad actors in this space. So it's probably smart for people to be cautious before they throw their weight behind something and then end up theoretically having the possibility of looking stupid or getting their followers scammed or that sort of thing.
Risk. Yeah.
So I get it, but I'm confident, obviously, that with time, Pulsechain and the Tang Gang will be seen as forces for good, like good actors, value add, and none of that typical stuff. And you know, sometimes I hear people talking in the Tang Gang, and it sounds like cliches. It sounds cliche. It's like, this like I've never been in a community that's like this before. Oh man, you know, this is such a vibe, whatever, it's good vibes only. Like you hear stuff where you're like, I've heard this before in crypto communities. But in the Tang Gang, many of these things, when they're said, they're actually true. But I'm cautious of promoting by cliche. And it's you need time is the only way that we can demonstrate that, right? Like you can't just state it. It needs to be time. And really the true test is a bear market, right? So look at what happened with Hex. It's the bear market is the test because you don't know for sure until.
I'm glad you acknowledge that, because you can start off with, and I think that Hex really started this way. The culture was formed, and that culture has flowed through into other things, and I think still permeates all of Pulsechain, and whether you like it or not, the Tang Gang as well. How many influencers have you guys paid to promote stuff? I would probably assume it's zero.
So for what? For the Tang Gang? Zero. Zero. One, we don't need to do it, but two, we're hyper aware that we wouldn't. So the Tang Gang is obsessed with transparency.
Industry, to be honest.
Absolutely obsessed with transparency. So a lot of the time, so everything will be done basically in the main chat, only really with two exceptions. When the artist or the devs need to maintain their competitive advantage, so that they don't want it to be publicly announced what they're building until it's complete or near complete, which is fair. And the other one is, what was that? The other reason was, there might have been another reason, but that's the main one in terms of why stuff wouldn't be just to prevent front running. So like if there's a situation where that information could lead to external bad actors effectively being better able to value extract from the community, then that also might be done in a way where it's not as transparent at the front end, right? So the only two reasons why everything else, it is literally just all done completely transparently. So back to the comment with, so culture's great, and it's good that you acknowledge that culture can sound really solid and everyone's on board until two things happen. One, the community grows to a point where it is very hard to control the culture because you get fragmentation of groups. And you guys are, Tang Gang is going to go through this where it gets so big that then there'll be subgroups within Tang Gang, and that's just the way communities that grow big, that's what happens. So you've got, can you maintain that culture? And also, once
once you get punched in the face once, is everyone still on board and high-fiving? So that's So can you withstand a bear market?
The best evidence that I've seen, because I had the same questions, right? I was like, my comment, and I actually said this on a Twitter space to the other people in the Tang gang, I was asking genuinely. I said, if the price runs up so high, like way too high, then the same thing like what happened to Hex could theoretically happen. And their counter was that no, because part of the problem with Hex was that there were too many rookies that weren't adding LP and were effectively just dumping, and people just mainly dumping, not adding LP. Whereas the culture in the Tang gang has been set that the way that you sell is through LP, and the way that you support the ecosystem is by providing LP. So, and you earn fees by doing that. And so, and by the way, you can actually see that in the LPs. The proportional LP sizes for Tang gang coins is insanely high relative to cap. It is like, so remember when Hex was like, I don't know, I want to say $1 billion, but
it's the inverse.
So when Hex was theoretically worth a certain amount for the total cap, people were saying, oh, there's only 100 grand of LP or something. To give you some idea, just using HOA as an example, but there's many other Tang gang coins that have this exact same rough ratio. The total market cap of HOA, I think, is about 7.7 mil or something at the moment, and there's over $1 million of LP. So it's just an insanely high ratio. And so if that culture is maintained, look, LPs can be pulled, but if that culture is maintained, you're not as likely to see as drastic collapse in price in a bear market. But I want to see it. And then there was something else I was going to say, because and then you're right that just the social culture of effectively being a little bit less PvP, which I don't promote, by the way. I tell everyone you need to maintain an adversarial mindset. But I think within the group, there are quite a few people that see it as a community that they genuinely want to support, particularly if they have received value from the community. So like a value that's not necessarily even dollars. Whereas with most coins, the only value that anyone ever gets is by dumping. So So I'm cautiously optimistic that those two things and possibly other factors could help whenever there becomes a downturn.
I think the education is a big thing. I think once we reach the peak of a bull market, things might change a little. But hey, I think that the best, if you can educate people and guide them, that's the best you can do. But when it comes to value extraction,
I've got a saying or whatever that is hope for the best but expect the worst. That's the like, so you're optimistic but you prepare for the worst case as well, or you at least keep that in the back of your mind.
So what I would, and that doesn't necessarily need to come from members within the community as well. So I would argue that a lot of sell pressure from on Hex came from people that weren't necessarily hardcore hexagons staked out for 15 years. And look, everyone probably sold a bit, let's face it. But you can have other people that are riding the coattails and saying, oh, look, this thing's going up 1000x. I'm just going to sit. And then when the time comes, just bam. They don't give a shit about your culture or how you educate people. They're just going to murder the chart. So there's some things you can't control.
You know, the crazy thing is that we've been streaming for just over an hour. We haven't really talked about price at all, which is typical. It's typical, you know, that's true in true Tang gang fashion. But it is worth mentioning that the chart is at pretty much at all-time high against dollar and PLS. So it's so that's the whole at all-time high. It's bullish as F. you've got that situation where anyone who bought and didn't sell has to be in profit when you're at an all-time high, just by definition. And because it's against dollar and PLS, it doesn't matter how you count the performance of your bag, that it doesn't matter what your base currency is, you're in the green. And so, you know, just over 5 cents and heading towards $8 million cap. So it's an impressive looking chart. And you know, I think the patronage model and the attitude and the culture has definitely been a part of how that has occurred. And it's been good.
I wasn't really going to get into this too much today, and I don't want to drill into it a great deal, but Doz has put a comment there which I think is worth at least
that's fine.
Bringing up, and that is, and I don't even know how to bring comments up. Jesus, can I do that? I don't know.
If you can click on the comment.
Yep. Show. Is that what I do?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yep, that's it.
Cool. So one constructive criticism would be that these subcultures shouldn't fight each other in our community, but go and fight with other communities. I'd even bring that down and say you don't necessarily need to fight with other communities. But I have, and I don't want to get into this now. Twitter, man, it brings out the best and the worst in people. And we have seen a bit of a clash across various communities in Pulsechain over the last few days, and whether that's for engagement or what, I don't know. But disappointing to see some of that come out recently. So I hope that can be sort of curtailed a little bit.
I was just thinking the other day that, so we've got genius minds in the Tang gang. We've got people that are incredibly good with game theory, marketing, economics, like everything you could possibly think of, tech and social media, everything. However, I noticed, I was like, when someone streams, say Corey Costa does a stream, he has Too Spooky on, who's the founder or the deployer. The Tang gang will show up in force and the comments are just orange, right? The entire thing is orange. And I was thinking, which is amazing, the level of support that the Tang gang, and by the way, thank you for all the Tang gang members who have come to watch the stream and are in the comments and that sort of thing. However, we could be going and doing the same thing on Ivan on Tech streams or Crypto Man Ran streams. So it's like and I think it's part of something that's very beautiful about the Tang gang is they care more about supporting people within the community than they do about adoption, because they know that's going to come later if we just keep being awesome. But you can see how going to the big name streams and painting their shit orange would probably be more effective at getting new eyes.
Yeah.
And so I think what Doz is talking about is just another example of that the echo chamber is real. It's hard to escape it. You end up trying to convince the people within your own community. They're the people that you're in the contact the most often with. They're the people that will let you up on stage and have a discussion with. You know them by name, it's definitely a different mindset to go out and interact with other people. It might be more difficult, and it's certainly and it might feel less fruitful in the initial interactions. But I agree. I think it's something that everyone on Pulsechain could probably improve on, it's not even improve on, just consider increasing their repertoire or whatever.
Don't go out and be, you don't have to be toxic, but just go out and have a conversation with someone where it's not about your coin and my coin. Just go have a conversation about something crypto related, something you've got in common, and you'd be surprising how many bridges that builds down the track.
Yeah. So I guess the way the Tang gang has done it is kind of in reverse, in that sense that rather than actively going and trying to interact with other communities, they just build like F until and demand attention through awesomeness until people actually take notice, which is is probably maybe as effective or more effective. But I think we could do both, right?
Yeah. So do you know what's going on Solana? Do you know all the ins and outs of the communities over there?
I don't.
Arbitrum.
That's one chain. That's one chain I'm completely not interested in.
So that's what I'm saying. And do you think they know what we're doing over here?
Maybe I could find. I don't. I'm a bit of a Michael Saylor when it comes to Pulsechain. I've got this like there is no second best attitude. I really have this there is no second best attitude because I care about censorship resistance and I care about that cypherpunk attitude, and I don't see it anywhere else. I'm not saying as much. I don't see it anywhere else at all because Richard instilled that, he seeded that culture in terms of caring about privacy and free speech and decentralization and all of those things. And so that has flowed on to these cultures and subcultures on Pulsechain. And so maybe Chia, but we've already got a very good social bridge with Chia. So that through the Tang gang. So they care about cypherpunk stuff. In fact, they've actually got, they've got a lot of known cypherpunks. I guess ETH is always a worthy target. The Bitcoiners maybe with some definitely like long hard work might join the party. That's a tough nut to crack, the Bitcoiners. We could think about some.
Yeah, so I guess the point of that comment was, and we'll start to wind it up now. The point of that comment was, we live in that echo chamber. We know intimately what's going on Pulsechain, and we'll stand there and fling shit at each other on Twitter because, hey, it's easy to do. You've got an audience. There's other chains that don't know what we're about, and likewise, we don't know what they're about. So it pays to start reaching out. I think some of the easiest ways to reach out at the moment, some of the low-hanging fruit, the multi-chain integration stuff. That's where I think this next cycle is going to really bear some fruit. And I reckon if we can if we've got good teams collaborating with protocols that are being that center hub, that multi-chain hub, that at least gets you on the same pages as all the other chains. So when someone's looking down a list, they can at least see that Pulsechain's there. But I totally agree with what you said. The ethos here is what keeps me on Pulsechain, and I don't tend to go too far afield because I like what it's about from I guess a philosophical point of view. But hey, it's hard to. I think it's going to also do well from a price performance point of view. It's hard to look elsewhere.
So I did absolutely no prep for this stream because I knew that there's so much stuff to talk about related to the Tang gang that we wouldn't run out of things even with no prep. Something that I just realized I should mention is something that the Tang gang is known for are the Twitter spaces that are run semi-regularly, which include Free Mint Friday. So that's on a Friday afternoon USA time. That's when the free mints are done, so if there's any NFT, like free mint NFTs, that's when that is done usually. Then there's Sucker Free Saturday, which is typically when paid mints are done. So those where artists that are doing paid mints or utility NFTs and those sorts of things. And then we also have Tang Tuesdays, which is no specific structure. It's just more of a kind of like everyone catch up and like update on what's been going on in the Tang gang, tell everyone what we've been doing. And I added a start, like a pre-party to that where we all sort of hop on an NFT marketplace and list NFTs for cheap. So I started doing it was like 99-cent NFTs just for people who are waiting for Tang Tuesday to start and just want to get on and mess around. So those are our sort of like regular events. So if people want to sort of know more about what's going on or just keep up to date, keep an eye on what's going on in the Tang gang, those events are definitely worth attending. They're on Twitter or X, and obviously the Tang gang Telegram is definitely a spot. That's probably where the most activity is in terms of like live chatting activity.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. If I haven't been in there for a week or two and I come back and look at how many messages are there, it's insane amount of messages. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, just
and by the way, in some Telegram communities, it's just noise. It's like when moon, all that kind of stuff. There's none of that shit. Probably the only spam is the buy bot, which lately, with so many buys going through and them increasing in size, the buy bot was just out of control. The admins had to increase the minimum threshold for when it goes off, because it was just flooding the chat. So that's been fixed. And so, other than that, it's all actual, if you read it, it's all genuine conversation between Tang Gang members, which is pretty amazing.
Cool. Last question that we'll finish off with. Is there an option for Christopher?
An option for Christopher?
Can you see the comment on screen?
So if I don't want to dump H and also don't want to provide LP, can I stake it? Well, there's a pool on the Pussycat farms. There's a single asset pool, but people got so enthusiastic about it, they threw in there's over $1 million Australian, so it's somewhere between $600,000 and $800,000 US in that pool, which has made the APR come down quite a lot because you're competing against all those other people. So technically, yes, you can stake it into that pool, but I wouldn't recommend it because the APR is so low now. What else can you do with HOA? You can LP it without the intention of selling it. So you could try to set your LP boundaries on V3 so that you actually stay within that range and earn fees from providing the LP. The coin has a lot of volume on it, so even though there's a lot of LP, you actually still do make decent fees. I think that those might be your only options at the moment. But then there might be something else I'm not thinking of.
Cool. All right. On that note, we might wind it up. Thanks for coming on and let me ask.
I really appreciate you doing it, and also I thought the idea of doing it live was really good, so that other people might enjoy hearing some of this stuff. Dude, thanks so much. Really great idea.
I think we covered a fair portion. I'm sure there's plenty that we didn't. So like Tangent said, go check out the Telegram group if you want to find out a little bit more and read the million messages that get bounced in there every day. But other than that, I'm sure and spaces and things like that. So dig a little bit further. But I at least wanted to acknowledge that there's a lot of hard work going on over at the Tang Gang, and I can visibly feel or see that there is adoption coming from that. So I think it's a net benefit. Cool. All right. Thanks for that. Speak to everyone later.
See yous.